breaking news. Tomorrow morning at the Indigenous Affairs Committee at 8:15, the member from Edmonton Centre, the former Liberal minister, it's not the other Randy.
Which one?
It's the member for Edmonton Centre
Sure.
that is going to be coming to committee. I can't guarantee he will answer questions, but he will respond to questions from Conservative members about the Liberals' Indigenous procurement scandal and the factors that led to his resignation from Cabinet. I'll be there at 8:15 at the Indigenous Affairs Committee. I know my colleague here from Kawartha, Lakes, Halliburton, Brock, somewhere in Ontario, our capable Indigenous Affairs critic will be there. I know the member from St. Albert, Edmonton will be there. There's another member from Ontario whose riding has the word lake in it, will be there as well.
Kenora.
And member for Kenora. So this will be an important event because we have been trying to get this member, the member for Edmonton Centre, to come before committee to answer questions about scandal. He will finally be there, and we will put to him the harm that has been done by false claims of Indigenous identity. Now, here's the scandal we're dealing with. The government says that over 5% of contracts go to Indigenous firms, but the Assembly of First Nations says that it is closer to 1%. In other words, that the majority of those who are benefiting from this Indigenous procurement program are shell companies. That you have shell companies, you have shady joint venture arrangements that allow non-Indigenous companies to take the vast majority of the benefit, and you have outright pretenders like the member for Edmonton Centre, who through their companies are taking advantage of programs that were intended for Indigenous people. So this is an overwhelming situation of abuse by non-Indigenous elites and insiders like the member for Edmonton Centre. Now, the member for Edmonton Centre, during the period when he was not a member of Parliament, he set up a company, and that company claimed to be fully Indigenous owned in order to try to get contracts from the government. Now, they did get some contracts from the government, but they made the claim to be fully Indigenous owned. And incredibly, the former minister says, well, I didn't know, it's my wild partner making these claims. Well, why did the former minister's partner think that the company was Indigenous owned? Well, maybe it's because the Liberal Party of Canada repeatedly falsely claimed that the member for Edmonton Centre was Indigenous. You have this proliferation of pretending to be Indigenous. You have, according to the AFN and other Indigenous leaders, a massive scale of Indigenous identity fraud as these non-Indigenous elite insiders try to take contracts, try to steal benefits that were supposed to be for Indigenous people. Meanwhile, not a single firm has ever faced consequences for Indigenous identity fraud. Not one single firm has ever faced consequences for Indigenous identity fraud. The Liberals set up a system where instead of the Indigenous communities themselves, the government, controlled the list of who was considered an Indigenous business, which many have called the colonial system. They set up the system where they control who's on that list. Many people got on that list or otherwise bid on contracts falsely claiming to be Indigenous. And there have been zero consequences for anyone, including for the former minister who still continues to be a member of the Liberal caucus and still claims his innocence. So tune in at 8:15 Eastern Time tomorrow.